also understand that we don't need to have all our eggs in one basket. Too often times we think that if we have all our eggs in this party's basket or this party's basket, that means it's going to be so much better off for us. And that wasn't true when the vast majority of us were all Republicans, any more than it's going to be true when the vast majority of us call ourselves Democrats. We've got to get educated on the issues that are prevalent to our communities. And we've got to start being honest. When I look in this room, and I had an opportunity to be here yesterday, I was so proud and yet at the same time shocked to see the number of people that were at the lunch and how many black men were there. If you think about the ratio of black men in prison, I come out of Atlanta, Georgia, where at Clark Atlanta University, last year they accepted 1,000 new students and only 100 of them were black men. Now, I know some of the brothers saying I should be down in Clark Atlanta. I understand. But my point of saying all that is that when you think about the numbers, when you think about where they predicted black men to be, they don't predict you all to be here. They don't predict you to be in law school. They expect the legal system to have a hold of you, but you to be a number in a prison. They don't expect you to be in college. They don't expect you to graduate from school. They don't expect you to be employed. We've got to start being honest with who is really serving our community and stop getting caught up in this color game and assuming that because of the color of the skin, because otherwise we would never say black on black crime. And many of us have said that. We would never call each other nigger because ain't a nigger in this room. But we do that to each other. And we say it's passion, it's out of friendship. No, it's not. That's an insult. When we understand what our ancestors went through in order to make sure that people didn't call them those names. They called them Mr. versus calling them boy. And yet we go and do the very thing today and call it fashionable. Wearing our pants down by our ankle. That's embarrassing. We've got to start being honest with ourselves and our communities. So whether Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, whatever you want to call yourself, my challenge to you is understand why you are whatever you are. Don't just say mama was. You know, one thing that we can all tease is that when we were born black and we were born Baptist. born Democrats. That's our community. But as we get older, we modify ourselves and we change and we evolve and we look at things that are suiting for us. And as you all are going out there to be the legal minds of the world, not just of your neighborhood, not just of your state, but of the world, you have a huge responsibility because if I come to you as my attorney, I expect you to do the very best that you can do with the facts that you have using your legal mind to do whatever you need to do in order to take care of me. I challenge you to do the same thing in politics. Don't get caught up in what's on TV. Because TV doesn't always present all the facts. Don't get caught up in what you hear. Don't get caught up in what Rush Limbaugh says or what Sean Hannity says or what Tom Joyner says or what Al Sharpton says. Find out for yourself what the facts are. And then figure out where your personal values lend themselves, your values. If you call yourself a Christian, then that's fine. If you call yourself a Muslim, that's fine. Whatever you call yourself. But where are your values at as they line up with those particular positions and then vote accordingly? And support those type of candidates that are going to support those issues that you're passionate about. That's the challenge we have in our community because they take all of you for granted. I'm going to tell you that right now. Politicians take you for granted. If you live in a black neighborhood, Democrats don't come to your neighborhood because we already got the vote. Republicans don't come to your community and say you ain't going to vote for us anyhow. At the end of the day, you're marginalized. Those are realities. And you may not like it, but it's the facts. Now you have an opportunity to lead this country and change those dynamics. And that's what your legal mind hopefully is teaching you to do beyond just winning cases. It's to make a difference in the community so that our children and my grandchildren, and I've got 6 of them, will have an opportunity to live the world that we all have the pleasure of living in today.
And contrary to what Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson may have told you, you will not have a scarlet R in your forehead if you vote Republican on November 6th.
If I could, I'm a black Republican, and I think Michelle Obama's body is amazing. But one of the things I'd like to say in response to what you just said, Timothy, is the lack of diversity on some of these Republican staffers is also a part of our issues that we have. I was the senior advisor to Governor Huckabee, and we regularly tried to recruit African-American people for our cabinet. And
in Arkansas? In
Arkansas. One of the things that he heard time and time again from qualified African-Americans is, I can't come work for you. My grandma will kill me. I'll never hear the end of it. They'll look at me funny at church. And those things are true. So the other thing we have to remember, the flip side of that is only 5% of us are Republicans. And if we want to grow that bench and grow that diversity, and many of us have to be open to hearing the things that Republicans have to say. The question I have for you all, for the panel, I was with a group of African American professionals in DC government last night, and they were saying that the Bush administration was more diverse than the Obama administration, and it was more open to providing jobs and economic opportunities to African Americans in the Obama administration. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, that's true, because the concept, like I said earlier, is that it's about empowering the individual so that government isn't taking over their lives. And as conservatives, the Bush administration understood that. What can we do to help these communities get off the government dole? Because that is not the American way. That is not the pursuit of happiness. Getting a government check and living in public housing is not the pursuit of happiness that I was taught. So, you know, Brandon made the point that there was a large number of minority business ownership expansion under the Bush administration. That's actually very true. And black female businesses expanded the greatest because of small business loans, different opportunities within the SBA to focus in on that. They focus in on home ownership and economic empowerment, because that's what we believe in. But unfortunately, the way the optics of it, the way it's perceived, no one hears about these things because we don't have enough ambassadors to go out there and show what's happening in these communities. Like Jack Kemp was a great example. Yeah. You know, we need a Jack Kemp now in the Republican Party, a couple of Jack Kemps that are not afraid to go out there and say, you know, go walk the streets and say, this, you know, we should have businesses here, get these liquor stores out of here, we're gonna set up empowerment zones and get businesses and get people working, owning, and living the American dream without the government giving them a check. We'll give them the opportunity, here you go. Now, go ahead and make your own way with the opportunity. The point is what you do with the opportunity that's given to you. And, you know, it's frustrating sometimes to see how what we believe in is actually more beneficial than what Democrat policies have been, yet doesn't seem to translate because there's a lack of ambassadors and a lack of rapport in the community, and that's just the realist part of it.
Mr. Counts, how has your experience working in the trenches with campaigns, going on college campuses to educate new generation of leaders, both in the African American community and abroad, how has that shaped and helped contribute to the conversation of trying to remove kind of the shackles, that some would say, stranglehold that the Democratic Party has on the African American vote?
Well, what I always tell African Americans that I meet that are sometimes independent, Democrat or Republican, is that first of all, this conference is a great example. This is we're talking about promoting African American leadership at the end of the day. Groups like this, groups like groups that do the same for Black MBA students. We're talking about increasing the role of African American leaders throughout this country in various different industries. That's kind of the ultimate goal. And so when you look at politics today in this country, we have two bodies that basically control the policy for the entire country, and the most powerful country in the world, right? And right now we have representation, or decent representation, in one of those bodies, in the Democratic Party. At the same time, you look at the Republican Party, and we don't really have that much representation there. And so out of all the policy that's made for every industry in this country, two bodies decide on this, and we right now have some people at the table in one of those bodies. And so you say there should be outrage. You're saying that why aren't there leaders? Why aren't people protesting? Why aren't people standing up and saying, hey, why aren't the Republicans bringing in more African Americans? All types of leaders from different stripes, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. Why aren't they standing up there right now and saying, hey, why isn't there more inclusion in the Republican Party? And you look at that issue, and the brother over here just brought up a great point with what we said with his family members, is that it's really us, it's really African Americans who are pushing people away from the Republican Party. If someone decides to go over and say, hey, I'm a Republican, I wanna chime in on this issue, and it could be anything. It could be something like school choice. It could be something like you could be pro-drilling, pro-drilling domestically. You could be very strong on foreign policy, all these issues that aren't directly tied to race. If anyone that says, okay, I'm a Republican, I want to be a leader on this issue, then there's stones thrown at you, you're called names, you're an Oreo, you're this, you're that, and the other, and it's African Americans who are actively trying to make sure that there aren't African Americans represented in this party, representing the Republican Party. And that's what, personally for me, I think is the most outrageous thing, is that there's two bodies right now in this country that control all the policy, right? And we have representation in one, we don't in the other. And African Americans are leading the way and trying to kind of pull other African Americans from having leadership roles there.
All right, let's be honest here. Over the course of this administration from 2008, or I guess 2009 when President Obama was elected, the number of African Americans in elected office, let's look at that. In the House, there are 44 black members of Congress. We have no representation in the Senate right now. There's one governor. Can anybody name what state he's from? One black governor.
Massachusetts.
All right, Massachusetts. We have two black Republicans in Congress right now. We have 2 lieutenant governors in the country, one in Maryland and Jennifer Carroll in Florida, who's a Republican. We really stand at crossroads, I think, as a community in terms of, from 2009 when President Obama was elected, the largest majorities in a generation, Democratic majorities. So over 60 senators in the upper house, over 255 Democrats in the House. And let's talk about what happened. I mean, the stimulus and healthcare, but a lot of the same problems and a lot of the same issues are still being unaddressed. So if we're not able as a community to mobilize and inspire and to move our representation to share our values and to act accordingly, what does that say about the community? I think that's something to keep in mind.
Let me give a little additional history, though, especially for the ladies here. Ladies, there has never been a black female governor of either party, Reconstruction or post-Reconstruction, of any state. So there's never been a black female governor.